Hello, good evening, and welcome once again. It's Nwaebiem, your favorite school psychologist, the one that believes that when it comes to education, the mind must be involved. So, in this edition, we kick off our educator self awareness journey, that is understanding our why. You know, when we talk about the concept of why, we are talking about not just reasons we do things, but a deep rooted conviction that fuels our passion, that anchors our commitment and guides our decision. I strongly believe that the difference between an effective educator and an educator that isn't effective is simply in their why. You know, when we talk about why, so many people try to, how will I put it? They try to undermine the purpose why the purpose why we do things. But you find out that for any educator to be effective, this person must be teaching. It must be, for any educator to be successful, it must be teaching, going through their teaching journey, their field, with intentionality. Because on our way, we encounter a lot of challenges, just like every other profession that had to deal with dealing with human beings. Even those that are not dealing with human beings, you come across, there are times that you have to come across challenges. There are times you will need to evolve. All these things, the way you react or respond to all these things is rooted in your why. If you are the type that live your life on autopilot, you find out that you will be a victim of circumstances. So when we talk about understanding our why, we are talking about an educator's core purpose, motivation, and personal mission that drives our decision to teach. Why are you a teacher? And it also shapes your professional identity. I remember when I started teaching, I I have this thing about me, the way I dress, the way I carry myself. A lot of my colleagues then will say, "Are you not overdressed?" I told them, "No. There is an identity I carry, there is an identity I want to project, and it has influenced everything, my communication, my communication, my teaching strategies. It a lot of things. It affects my dressing, the way I carry myself. So understanding your why is very important. So let me say this: meaningful actions and sustained uh, meaningful actions and sustained commitment are driven by our why. If you are somebody who is intentional, you can't be intentional if you don't understand your why. You can't be intentional if you don't know your purpose. So you ask yourself, why are you in the teaching field? Why did you resume this term? Why are you in a classroom? A lot of persons I've shared this particular story with a lot of persons, but I want to go over it again. I While I was growing up, I noticed I have problem with numbers. Actually, I had I have this dyscalculia. So every time I notice when numbers are on the board, I get confused. I don't know. I get confused, the whole headache and everything. I can't make sense of it. It takes me time. Even if I want to understand a mathematical concept, I will have to take a lot of time to grab it. So, and it made me look as if I was unserious, made me look as if I wasn't intelligent. So this particular day in my basic four, I stood at the board. My teacher called me out to solve a particular problem on LCM. I stood at the board. I wasn't understanding anything. And as I was still trying to make sense of those numbers, what I had at my back was zwa, zwa, two strokes of the cane. And I felt that this is unfair. At that particular point in time, I told myself, see, I'm going to be a teacher because there are students like me that ought not to be passing through this. They need somebody to understand them. That was where my journey started, my why. That was all I needed. Fast forward to being a teacher, being in the being in the classroom. I met a lot of students with different challenges, and I was overwhelmed. At a point, I told myself, you are not going to be effective if you don't understand how each of them learn, what is happening with each of them. I went to do my second degree in educational psychology. Do you see how my why propelled me into the field? Do you see how my why caused me to evolve? So today, I'm not just helping students alone. I'm helping teachers to understand how their learners learn. I'm providing support for special students just like me. So what what I couldn't get, I am giving. That is why it is important to understand your why. Your why helps you determine the area you are going to focus on. It helps you. You are not supposed to go on this journey on autopilot. So why did you choose the teaching profession? Why are you back to school this time? So your why shapes your mindset. What is it about? Currently in the world, teachers are underrated. But I still see people who are committed to it. Why? They understood their purpose. Teachers are the ones, teachers are among the least paid. But I still see some teachers earning more. These are people who understood their why. So your why will lead you to a place of intentionality. Everything, every personal development, every career development you undertake, any journey you undertake, fueled by your why, you put it in correct perspective. Your why shapes your behavior. For example, I can't just see this past week, I was trying to get a special teacher for a particular girl. Uh, for a particular girl, I conducted an assessment for. So, in my course of looking for a teacher, I found out that most of the teachers I came in contact with understood the job, but they didn't understand their why. They were just doing it. Oh, this is another branch of education. This is another side to education. This is special needs education. Your why influences your behavior. It influences your attitude. It influences the way you interact with both your colleagues and your learners. So your why aligns your action with your values. Your why aligns your action with your values. You can't scale up in this teaching profession. You can't scale up. You can't create a positive classroom environment, and you can't uh, give your learners and yourself positive classroom experiences. You can't confront challenges. Like I said, for every profession that deals with human beings, management of human beings comes with its own unique challenges. All these things, you can't do it. You can't handle challenges effectively if you don't understand your why. Your why is what actually keeps you going when you encounter those challenges. Your why is what actually helps you decide, make decisions when you encounter those challenges. So before you answer the question of how do I teach this child? How do I go about my teaching journey? You must first of all understand your why. And that's why we started with this particular thing, with this particular topic. So have you understood your why on a personal level, on the level of classroom goals? Earlier this term, before the term started, in our teachers resumption talk, we talked about setting a goal. When you understand your why, you can set your goals to align with your why. And I gave us a particular task. I said, write down your why, keep it somewhere that is easily, you can see it somewhere within your eye contact. So at any time you see it, you reflect. Anytime you see it, you adjust. Anytime you see it, you pause and consider. So before you answer the question of how, you must first understand your why. For example, if you want to foster critical thinking in your learners, you that is your why. Okay, I want to foster critical thinking in my learners. I have already stated my why. Then I can now ask myself, how do I go about it? So this is the reason why your why is very important. So the classroom is a kind of microcosm where a teacher's why directly shapes students' experiences and learning outcome. Your classroom is where you test your why. Your classroom is where your why is tested. So whenever we talk about classroom management, whenever we talk about handling difficult learners, whenever we talk about handling learners with disabilities, learners with behavioral problems, all of them, the way you react, the way you respond to all of them is linked to your why. So this is very important. And I hope that after this section, you gather up the lessons you've learned from this particular section and implement it, reflect on it, and implement. So let's see how our why influences our teaching journey. Excuse me. It shapes your identity. I've said it. Your why shapes your identity. How you see yourself. It shapes your reputation. How others see you. Before somebody can look at you and say, oh, this is a very wonderful teacher. This is someone I would want to be like. Oh, okay, you want a teacher that can do this. Okay, this is the person that can help you do that. It is your why that frames all these things. It is your why. How you see yourself in the role of a teacher. It influences your teaching strategies, the relationship you build both inside and outside the classroom. So your why shapes your identity. Another thing again is that your why shapes how you manage your setbacks. Like I've said before, you are going to face a lot of challenges. You are going to face a lot of, you are going to make a lot of mistakes. I've made mine. I remember telling you that telling us that one of my biggest regret in this teaching profession was the way I handled a particular learner. I don't know whether she had a learning disability, but she wasn't picking up, and the way I reacted to her that particular day wasn't really wonderful. And I know that I left that mark in her. So, how you manage setbacks, how you manage different learners, it drives your motivation and resilience. So there was there was this particular, I don't know if it happens to you. I love going to school. I love being in school. So I any day is on school days, I'm usually happy going to school. So one particular day, it was on a Friday, we were having our teachers meeting and we were trying to talk about how the week has been for us. And I was telling them it's Friday. I don't really uh, like Friday. I will be out of work. It's not as if I'm not stressed out on some certain days, but that particular day I was telling them I seriously feel like it should continue. So one of them looked at me and was like, maybe you should leave in school. Maybe I should leave in school. I'm motivated. I'm happy. There is less stress for me. I'm not burnt out. Why? I have answered my why. So teachers without a clear why, teachers with a clear why are less likely to experience burnout and more likely to experience job satisfaction, even under stress. A certain time, I came across a particular post from a friend of mine saying that if it's possible, so many women won't be working. I said, maybe I'm not part of those so many women, because even if I'm not paid, I would want to teach. So because it's like that for me, because I have had answered my why. So it impacts our classroom culture, how you do things in the class, the environment you create in your class. You know, there is a particular class you come into. I experienced that in that my basic four. Oh, I think my basic four, who's one of my worst experiences in primary school. I experienced that there is always tension. I don't want to go to school, and I don't really know how to tell my parents because they are this very strict type. Whether your children are going to, whether your learners are going to feel comfortable, whether they are going to feel accepted, the emotional tone you set in class, these are the things that your why influences. So you are more authentic when your why is clear. You are more authentic when your why is clear. So I took I gave some of our teachers, our educators, a task. Why are you in the teaching field? Come and see answers. Very genuine, very noble answers. I told them, even if you stumbled upon teaching, you can always evolve. You can always evolve. I know so many people who didn't want to teach, but they evolved. They they love it. They started loving it. They started improving, and today some of them are doing very good. They are doing very good. So, how do you reframe or rediscover your why as a teacher? How do you do that? Because in our teachers resumption talk, I said something. I said most times we are busy adulting, most times because of routine, administrative pressure, stress, routine fatigue, and the rest, we can lose touch with our why. It happens. And it is not a, how will I put it? It's not something that should be so overwhelming. It happens. You can lose touch. That is the reason we are on this journey. I believe that after these 16 weeks, we'll be able to be more intentional in the way we deal, not just with ourselves, but with our learners. So we can lose touch of our why as a result of so many things. Most of us are mothers, we have our families to cater for. So, how then do we get it back? How then do we get it back? One way to get it back is to reflect on your teaching story. Every time I love talking about my teaching story, the reason why, and the reason I am teaching. I I go over it. I go over the situations that were at play that particular day. In fact, there was a particular day I was seated in the staff room. This particular student, at that point, I have lost touch with my why. Seriously, I have lost touch with my why. So this particular student came to hand in their assignments. He called me. Uh, he called me and was like, "Teacher, why are you in this school?" Wow. The question threw me off balance. Why are you here? He asked several times. I tried answering, and that was when I noticed that I've lost touch with my why. So that was a kind of a wake up call for me. So reflect on your teaching story. What inspired you to become a teacher in the first place? What were the moments that have given you the most joy in your classroom? Is it a moment where a particular student who couldn't grasp a concept, and after you have taught, the student understood? I remember one certain time, a particular student of mine chatted me up on WhatsApp, and he was like, okay. And he was like, "You are the reason I started reading books, inspirational books." So there was a book you gave me during one of my, during one big day, a book by Ben Carson. I was like, wow. It was a moment of pure joy. Oh, I'm able to influence somebody. I'm able to make this kind of impact. This is one among so many. I get uh, testimonials. So, which moments have given you the most joy in the classroom? I can remember the particular day, a particular student I handled took her on a journey, on a self-awareness journey. The day she told me, "Ah, auntie, I'm no longer stealing, no." It was a moment of pure joy for me. So, when was the last time you felt proud about being a teacher? That's the first step. Reflect on your teaching story. Ask yourself these questions. So, the second uh, way to realign, reframe, or rediscover your why is to identify misalignments. What were those events, those things, those practices or pressure that are what are those pressure, those moments those events, those practices that are pulling you away from your why. It can be the stress from home, it can be financial stress, it can be administrative pressure, things like that, a toxic work environment. I was telling somebody that I had to leave a particular school because they were not offering continuous professional development. I had to leave. Yes, I asked them over and over again, is there no training? Don't you have, even if it means paying for it? At the end of the day, I keep getting excuses upon excuses. At a point, I told them I had to leave. I submitted my resignation letter. I left. So your why, the reason you are in that particular environment, the reason you are in that environment, in that toxic work environment, and you are complaining and complaining, is because you've not understood your why. If you understood your why, you go to places. In fact, you attract places. You attract places. You attract trainings. You attract audience